Physical models are made of mathematics. Without mathematics, there's no mathematical models. So again, you just don't need them. How can one model time? I'm arguing that there is no model for time. Okay, time is a function. It's something you put in an equation, but it doesn't make an equation. It's not a dimension. It's not any of this bullshit. It's something related to what happens when something's doing something at a rate. Shit, or force. Or the actual quantities and changes in parameters in the model. Well, again, if you have a model full of gyroscopes spinning, that are interconnected with little, connecting mechanics. Okay, let's say some sort of friction between them, field friction. Yeah, I mean, you can model it. All right, I'm not saying I'm against math. I'm not saying having a mathematical model, what it's going to do over a period of time, probabilistic, what the outcomes are. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But again, why does that have anything to do with the fundamental argument here that space and time are not fucking goddamn dimensions? They don't get warped. They're not the cause of gravity or magnetism or time dilation. So explain to me why I necessarily must believe in bent space to believe in any of these things, gravity or time dilation. They can be explained without bending the invisible fake dimensions. Jeez. Mathematics is part of any usable model. Well, again, it doesn't have to be part of anything. And again, I'm not arguing with math. You keep thinking these equations prove something. They don't. They prove a relationship. Proving a relationship between cryogenic slowing down of metabolism and velocity, that's what the math is demonstrating. The math doesn't demonstrate the existence of any time dimension, and it doesn't demonstrate the existence of any warping of any space. Those are conclusions or presumptions built into the relationship. They're assuming because the relationship exists, they're applying some cause for the relationship. So again, the fact that there is a convergence that pulls the Earth into the sun, quote unquote, pushes it, is not in dispute, idiot. The cause of it is. All right. There is no acceleration. Again, we'll delete that last till you learn how to do this properly. There's no acceleration, and yet photons in orbit. Anything in orbit has acceleration. Well, again, by your definition, right? Again, quantize it to the size of gravity, okay? The graviton is the same size as the photon. So all of a sudden, this idea of has acceleration is really quite irrelevant because it's getting collided Volkswagen against Volkswagen now, okay? It's now kinetic. This is where it goes down to the kinetic root. There is no acceleration at the kinetic root. There is one speed. Everything's traveling the same speed. I only made that totally clear. Right? So there is no accelerating. You can't possibly do it. You're already going the maximum speed, and there's no less speed. There's no any of that. Okay, so on the atomic level, these interactions are happening kinetically. That's the whole point. Kinetic. Doesn't have anything to do with slowing down or speeding up. Of course there's acceleration. Well, of course there's not. So again, you just presumptuously declared, of course there's acceleration. No, there's no acceleration. Photons don't accelerate. Asshole. Alright. Gravity gave me magnetism. How does your understanding of gravity give you magnetism? Well, fuck, it's in the diagram. I mean, what am I supposed to... I drew you pictures. That's still not good enough. Magnetism, newsflash, asshole. Magnetism isn't bent space. Okay? Magnetism is actually created by an external force. It passes through the filter that are magnets, okay? Like gravity passes through the Earth and gets pushed towards the sun. Well, the same thing's happening inside a magnet. It's the same exact force. It's the same force that does gravity. Okay? It's the universal pressure, and the magnets are filtering it, which means they're magnifying it. I mean, it's in the document. I'm not, I really shouldn't have to reiterate this. I mean, fuck, it's right there, plain. It's plain. You know, I can't make it any plainer. It's right here, plain. I point out the magnets are filtering polarized gravity. All right, the drawings are right here. You don't understand how that's just like gravity, except it's polarized gravity? Gravitons, quantons. I mean, I'm talking about magnetism. I'm talking about gravitons, quantons. You don't get it? Man, fuck you. I mean, that's just an obnoxious comment. You haven't explained this anywhere. Well, I'm sorry. I don't need to explain it anywhere. I've explained it in the document. Yes, I have explained it somewhere. So you're just full of shit. Simply saying that my theory is consistent with existing math doesn't indicate that it's consistent. Well, again, I'm not disputing any existing math. So until somebody shows up and says there's something where my theory is not compatible, that something about my theory creates a circumstance that's incompatible with current math, I really don't have to go with I don't have to go out. Einstein didn't do this, you motherfucking little weaselly cunt. I don't have to go out and find every mathematical equation in existence, all of Pythagoras, all theories that was ever written on a piece of paper, any formula ever written on a piece of paper, and prove my theory consistent with it. That's not my obligation, jackass. It's your obligation to sit there and find some fucking piece of math that doesn't consistent with what I'm arguing, that somehow with what I'm arguing can't possibly satisfy these conditions, jackass. Let's see. Claiming that it is simply is not enough to verify. Well, again, I'm not arguing that it verifies anything. What I'm arguing that verifies my theory is the fact that it first meets the Occam razor standard, and that it's profoundly simpler, not more complex, and it's a lot simpler than bent space telling fucking things something what to do. So nothing tells something what to do. Yeah, that's kind of a loopy theory. My theory actually has a something telling the something what it's going to goddamn do. All right, it's a dirt simple something. Alright, so I met that first standard. Then the second standard is, yes, it unifies everything. Not just a few things. Every fucking thing gets unified. Jackass. So I guess it kicks the motherfucking cunt ass out of fucking bent goddamn space then, doesn't it, shithead? Yeah, it does. Just give a single precise example. Well, again, every example is in the fucking diagram where I've diagrammed gravity, I diagrammed magnetism, I've diagrammed now inertia and velocity and acceleration. What else do you need diagrammed, fucking retard? Every paper of Einstein's is filled with math connecting his theory with known results. That's a lie. Okay, they're not filled with math, so that's just bullshit. Clearly, what he was arguing, he had to sit there. You know, he's the one coming up with the extraordinary mechanism, right? Bent time and space. So yeah, you would think that because he's coming up with some abstraction, something that can't possibly be even cognized or imagined in any kind of relevant way. Certainly the three-dimensional convergence can't be fucking imagined or understood in your brain at all as anything other than some kind of infinite vacuum cleaner that just keeps pulling infinite invisible space into it, and the Earth somehow just rides on that convergence. So yeah, you'd think he would have to have some better piece to his model, because his actual model sucks. The space bends, stuff falls into the hole. That's how gravity works. Well, guess what? If you're using gravity to explain gravity, yeah, I think you're going to need something more, because that sounds kind of fucking circular, douchebag. Alright. The relationship between velocity and time dilation and special relativity is correct, as it has been verified many times. Well, again, who's arguing that there isn't a connection between velocity and time? Let's call it something else. I mean, calling it time dilation, again, is just kind of a perversion of the concept. The fact is, you're not going to dilate time. You're just going to age slower. Aging slower, or having a slower metabolism, is not the same thing as bending time. Is it, jackass? No, it really isn't. Where are these calculations you've done that you keep talking about? Well, again, I don't have to do the calculations because I'm already making the argument plain and simple. I'm giving you a plain and simple model, okay? If you're dancing as fast as you can and I ask you to move stage left, well, depending on how much I ask you to move stage left, how fast I ask you to move left, is going to decide how fast you're fucking goddamn dancing. There's your mathematical relationship, jackass. The faster you're going to the left, left, the less of the stuff you were doing before you'll be doing. And the simplest way to visualize it is that if matter is, as I state, made out of energy, you can't make energy go faster than the speed of light. So obviously if I start pushing the mass faster and faster and faster, and I move the mass right to the speed of light, the mass is no longer going to be matter anymore. All of the matter is not going to be dancing at all. All of the matter is going to be going stage left. Quite obviously, jackass, douchebag, motherfucker. All right. Let's see. You did not understand anything of his work due to lack of background. So who's this? Oh, Theora. Fucking that crazy fuck with his stupid Tesla perpedations. Perpedation. It's a perpedation in the field. It sounds like he's talking about masturbating or something. Perpedating. Anyway, you did not understand anything of his work due to lack of background in that field. Whatever that is. I can tell you just by your argument. Keep your critical thinking, but open up to listen and learn more. Well, I'm frankly no. You don't listen to people who are so fucking preposterously arrogant about some silly notion that light doesn't go anywhere, light doesn't do anything, and everything's a perpedation in the perpedation field, in the perpedating field. I mean, it's just a pile of crap. He doesn't have one, he can't even draw a picture of any of this crap or explain anything at all. And now he's saying that the Earth is magnetically moving into the sun, which is pretty stupid. Start with Walter Russell over Tesla and a bit of, why don't you just shove it up your ass, you pompous fuck. While doing so, keep your current knowledge in comparison, which you question most. Little advice. Fuck you. Why would I take your advice, jackass? Who the fuck are you, cunthead? I mean, I can't, what is your credential, shithead? Because we understood, meanwhile, that we were wrong. Back to zero, so to speak. Well, whatever. Fuck you. Fuck you, you cunt. I mean, how dare you just show up and be such an obnoxious motherfucker? You're not making a counter-argument to a damn thing I'm saying. You're just telling me you're smarter than me and you know the truth. Fuck you. Alright. You claim your response to my comment below. You claim in your response to my comment below, the one containing the link to 1973 paper, that the paper is an exercise in failure. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It described how they colossally failed. However, if you read the paper thoroughly, the report observed solar lamp deflection. Again, how can it mean anything? You sit there and actually read a paper where they basically explained how every fucking thing that could possibly go wrong went wrong, and now you still think it matters what their math comes out to, with their observation of 1/100th of the vision. They have 1/100th of the vision with their binoculars, and you're going to take what their result as verbatim. Oh, this is a perfectly valid result. I mean, you're just too fucking stupid. I mean, they've basically said, look, these results suck. And you can't figure that out? E, where E equals the value predicted by Einstein's math and the margin of error of 10%. Well, again, their margin of error is just made up. Right? So here you got 11% showing here. Plus or minus 11% would push them over 1. Okay, so they're over 1 by the margin of error, you jackass, by their own admission, and clearly by their own admission of how bad the experiment was conducted. I don't even believe that. So, and again, why don't we have a fucking picture? What is so fucking hard about having pictures of this shit? Right? These are photographic plates. Of course, I don't know why they weren't doing this digitally back, even in 73. But regardless of that, why do we have the picture? Why don't you just have the picture? Look, this is where it is, and this is with the new location. What's so difficult? Can your theory provide an actual prediction closer to the observed values? Well, again, you're saying these are valid observed values. You haven't overcome your margin of error. Your 0.6 whatever things, units, outside the margin of error. Idiot. Idiot. Oh, fuck. Alright. And I'm just saying, since if there was solar lensing were possible, I'm saying there's been 100 years. In 100 years, you're telling me they can't solar lens something routinely. And here's a reference to a 1997 paper that uses whatever Hipparcos data, stellar data gathered from the orbiting Hipparcos satellite, specifically designed to create accurate Lumina data for experimental application. Well, I don't care what it's designed for, but again, so this is the thin margin you're going to sit there and ride on. That's fine. There's lots of experiments out there that, in my opinion, are just wacky, silly expectations. These people say they've shot photons and they've received the same photon, the same exact photon. They detected it. They detected it, 300 miles away. That's what they're saying. Do you believe that? Then you're an idiot. They observe the value within 0.3% of the value predicted by general relativity. Well, again, the value predicted by general relativity is just made up as, again, the mass of the photons has to be made up by Einstein to have any such thing as any capacity to bend light. So I can make up a number 2, and I bet you they can have an experiment that'll find that much because it's so close to the margin of error. It's such a non-existent amount of diffraction that, yes, of course, you're going to find it in the errors. But so if you think that's hard evidence demonstrating the fact that such a thing as gravitational lensing exists, I think you're an imbecile. I really do. I think you're a fucking imbecile. We have a ton of galaxies out there right now that are supposed to have pretty gravitationally dense centers of some kind. All right, and they look pretty vacuous, some of them, and so why aren't those constantly lensing the stuff behind them? Why are these gravitational lensing images so fucking bad? Why do you have lensing way out in the spiral arms? No lensing in the center where it should be, where the heavy gravity is supposed to be. You think black holes exist? Well, why aren't they fucking gravitational lensing the fuck out of things? Where's your image of a black hole lensing? Where is it? Fuck you. Alright, and here's a 2011 paper where advances in measurement precision with the very long baseline radio interferometry are applied, observing agreement with prediction within 0.2%. That's right, 2%, or not 2%, but 207%. Again, alright, I'll go look at this paper. I'll keep this one, I'll go look at it. But again, I'm gonna need a little bit more than the fact that they contrive a bunch of minutia. All right, you got to come up with something better than a bunch of obscure jiggle jaggles and say there that proves something. Okay, they're gonna have to image something. They're gonna have to as an actual real image. Let's see. So this guy's talking to the other guy. You are pitiful. This guy, and he's saying to this guy, for every paper you present, you could present 100 others against it, and he would. There weren't censorship at peer review publishing. Well, that's great. And I know it firsthand that it exists, no matter what no matter what the likes of you to think or want to believe, it is far from the best theory. It is thought the theory in well, my batteries are reading low. Irritating. So anyway, where were we? I don't know. Yeah, sorry. You're done posting. That's the wrong comments. Switch comment pages. I don't know. Oh, DraftScience. What happened? I made a mess somewhere. Whose fault is it? Alright, well, never mind. This is not an argument, just a correction of incorrect statements. Okay. Yeah, so for every paper you present, whatever. So yeah, that's just who wants to be bothered with this asshole. Not very interesting. So let's go here. I love your fundamental mythology. Involves just calling whoever disagrees with you stupid. Well, that's all you're doing, jackass. It's hilarious how non-specialists who get their learning from popular science YouTube videos created for people who themselves don't understand the theories nor the basic concepts. It's just more accusations about what other people don't know. How relativity theory have been debunked. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a huge flaw in the theory, not only because of the paradoxes it creates, in terms of this argument that somehow there's a real time dilation. Okay, you can do that whole near the speed of light kind of arguments. Fucking batteries. Yeah, it really is irritating. I don't know. They're all not charging right for some reason. I'm gonna go check out the charger. Looks less retarded. Go the fuck away. Anyway, some strategy works for you. Where's the one I want to get to? Anyway, no idea what you're saying. I've posted links to around 10 actually published scientific papers explaining how the theories are evidenced. Well, again, you think this is really good evidence. I mean, hard, substantial evidence. Obscure radio telescope, blah, blah, blah. You know, I haven't even gone through it yet. But I mean, I don't think it's up to a level where you've demonstrated and proven anything. So you can say you have. I'm saying I don't think you have. Because I think the real obligation, if there is such a thing as lensing, is to come up with some sort of actual photographs of it. And we have more than enough technology to do that if the goddamn thing existed. Let's see. No thanks. Not why, because insane nonsense. But I said I don't argue with religious sheeple, no matter how. You know, fuck you. You're an idiot. I'm pretty sure. My God, what do you mean by research is terrifying? Again, you have no idea what you're talking about. But the patterns become clear. Physics is weird, therefore it's wrong. I love it. Yeah, well, guess what? You know what? Feynman had a real uneasiness about the weirdness. You know, he did. You know, he played with it, but I don't think he liked it. I don't think any of them like it to be weird. I think they, in their heads, they know there probably should have been a rational explanation, not irrational explanations. And bending space is irrational nonsense. The assumptions are vague as the theory. Extra dimensions, singularities, paradoxes, dualities, absurdities. Yeah, exactly. This is not, it's not too good. Yes, it's non-intuitive and runs against the grain of common sense. Well, and that shouldn't bother you just a little bit. Just give you a little bit of pause. That here, everything in physics seems really hard when it comes to what we see, what we actually interact with. All that stuff doesn't seem to have any ghostliness to it. And it's only, ironically, when you get to things very, very small, or 5 billion light years away, that all of a sudden our vision gets whatever, and all of a sudden we find all kinds of ghosts. So I'm just saying that, you know, the fact that it's all very mechanical here, no evidence of any bent space in my real world, and it only exists in these little funny worlds, you know, that we can't see. Yeah, I think that's a coincidence that should bother you a little bit. Of course, that has nothing to do with how evidence the theory is. Well, again, the theory is the model, okay? So separate the relationship, like the convergence, okay? Gravity. No one's disputing the existence of gravity in this room, idiot. So you just keep talking the theory as if the theory means everything, every bit of math, therefore validates bent space. No, it validates relationships, as I've pointed out, the relationship between velocity and the slowing down of metabolism. They didn't even identify what's getting bent, okay? And what's bent is your own body when you're incurring velocity. Your body changes. That's why your interactions with the universe change. If I speed you through space at a, 30 or 40,000 miles a second, all of a sudden little tiny things that would never bother you are going to bother you. Little tiny things are going to start drilling holes right through you because you've changed. This is how physics, even science as a whole, progresses. Well, again, you people keep making this argument. When I prove that you're fundamentally wrong, that you're sitting here aggressively defending what is basically a nursery rhyme, is any of that crap you're spouting about this is how you progress, is by establishing a religious theory and then defending it, insanely, and just not even conceding that, oh, well, here's a simpler explanation that unifies everything, but I'll pretend it doesn't, and I'll just keep arguing how, look, this obscure experiment proves there's bent space. No, it might prove there's a relationship between something and something. It might prove that there's light diffraction, but it doesn't necessarily prove that there's bent space. A theory is written down and then tested. I don't know. Look, much of what Einstein did, he did because he was suspicious that this stuff existed. So let's not pretend nobody said the word gravitational lensing before Einstein showed up, because they did. All right, and don't pretend that nobody had a concept of bent time before Einstein showed up, because they did. If it explains more and with greater precision than any other theory, then it is taken as the current model. Well, I don't know. It explains more, with greater precision. Well, what I'm saying is obviously I have an awful lot of precision, since I have one theory that covers everything, and it's certainly more. It fits in the sense that it's got less Bugs Bunnies in it, less Donald Ducks. There's nothing unclear, and there's no law that says physics and science should only include claims that can be understood by non-specialists. Well, I don't even know if he's making that aggressive a claim, but certainly there's a point where if your model of reality you can't in any way draw it. You can't do anything to make it make any sense. Again, do bent space in 3 dimensions and tell me how it makes sense to you. Have a mechanical model it in, 3-dimensionally, and have this idea of everything converging, and with no energy. The space is making the stuff do that. So everywhere else we account for every little tiny quantum of energy going in and out of atoms, and yet you'll let the energy to move planets go unaccounted for. The bent space did it. That is your position. That's because it seems strange. It needs to be rewritten. That's just nonsense. It goes for you. Well, anyway, you're just so arrogant, telling everybody else how they're thinking incorrectly. So again, if I'm proven correct, then all of these words will be crow, right? And you'll accept that you're a colossal imbecile who's been merely like the Inquisition, working for a lie. Fighting for a lie. The whole relativistic paradigm is pure paranoia. Oh, let's see this crazy guy. What the hell are you talking about? Einstein paranoia again? Yes, I don't. These guys go too far. So all these conspiracy nuts. I don't even care if they're on my side, because they're they're nuts. But you relativists are religious retards. Okay, that's true. Einstein. Forget that. Alright, sorry, but you are wrong, but not for the reasons you claim here. The only argument I've made is the one in support of the existence of a body of experimental verification for the curved space. So again, it's not verification of the curved space. The fact that there's a convergence, that gravity exists, is not in dispute. So again, don't pretend there's evidence supporting anything besides the convergence. There's no evidence that bent space is causing it, you idiot. A body of literature which is ever increasing both in accuracy and extent. Well, these are just your claims. So again, that's all I keep hearing from these assholes. But when you go look at the evidence, and I went and looked at your gravitational lensing evidence, and it's all a crock of shit. It's as weak could possibly get. So if this is how you over-exaggerate what you have in your pocket as evidence, then yeah, it's all understandable. The two-slit experiment is preposterously over-exaggerated as a mystery. This is all such a pile of shit. And links to mine, not only submitted by actual published papers, were to counter your stupid accusations, which are, by the way, both mean-spirited and counterproductive. What do you hope to accomplish? Tell me I'm not bright enough. Is this your argument? Seems to be. Well, again, you have just done nothing but make those arguments over and over and over again, jackass. Somebody is not informed, or they don't have this, or they haven't read this paper. And again, I went to your stupid motherfucking cunt link, and it was a piece of shit. All right, you didn't qualify. Well, here's a link to a really bad, telescope experiment. But yes, they came up with the right answer. So yeah, it's really good to have the right answer from a really badly performed experiment. That sure proves it. I'm not asserting that I'm right. The papers I've posted speak for themselves. Well, again, they don't speak for themselves. You spoke for them. You posted them as if this is all legitimate, brilliant shit, that just a decisive evidence, and it's not decisive evidence. It's weak as fuck, and you claimed it was something else. And regarding my claim of being a member of the scientific community, see the links provided for a few peer-reviewed papers above. Algebra papers. Whatever. It is said that you profess to be part of the scientific, yet you manifest. No, I won't bother. I'm going to reply to your points here, but will observe again those seem to be disagree with, or feel a need to viciously counter claims the non-intuitive modern scientific theory do so out of ignorance. So again, so you're claiming, oh, you're just calling me ignorant, and there, what do? Do so out of ignorance. What else are you doing, jackass? The so-called twin paradox is not a paradox, and anyone who believes so doesn't understand the details of special relativity. Well, it certainly has caused a lot of bullshit where people start worrying about the tiny bit of acceleration required to get you back to, let's say you head out and then you accelerate for a moment. Like say you're going to a gravity well to turn around, right? Like the moon or something. So you fly 5 billion years away, at the speed of, at almost the speed of light, and then you use a black hole to slingshot around in the gravity, and you have a tiny bit of acceleration during that transition for 2 seconds of your voyage, and somehow that means something. So I'm just saying there's a ton of the way it's described, it's just idiotic. Like somehow that does the whole time travel thing, and of course it doesn't. Your metabolism slowed down. When you get back to Earth, yes, you're going to be older. But look how they've done this experiment, right? They sit there and say you can travel at 1g acceleration for a year and be moving at the speed of light. And then they do this thing as if you can move many times the speed of light. Prove you can move a piece of matter at the speed of light. All this misguided nonsense about the standard models is flawed and founded on simple non-understandings. Well, again, you're calling people stupid again. Simple non-understandings. What? Non-understandings of silly, idiotic, oh, this particle existed for 1/1000th of a second, and we're going to give it a name. It existed for a 1/1000th of a second, but we're going to call it a thing, a something that's in atoms, because we made it for a 1/1000th of a second. We stuck two things together with some Elmer's glue for a 1/1000th of a second, and now let's give it a name. Fuck you. It's basic results of the shark deflammatory in the language of modern science. Well, whatever. You're just an idiot. And no, he doesn't outline any problems in detail. Well, I think I do. He just complains about this and that. That's not what I've done in my videos. Complains originating in a simple failure to really understand the clean details of this hugely experimentally verified. So here we go again. Hugely experimentally verified. Those are your claims. You link to absolute crap and then you say something like hugely experimentally verified. Show me huge experimental verification of gravitational lensing. Show it to me, you cunt! And successful physical theories on which technology and other science is based. Well, then another vague reference to we wouldn't have computers if it wasn't for bent space theory. Bullshit. He hasn't even really hashed out the details of a single counter-argument. Where are your counter-arguments? I don't see one, you fucking cunt. Not a single one. Where are they, cunt? Nor has he presented a theory beyond some nonsense about terms he doesn't clearly understand. Yeah, fuck you. So fucking hard, you weasel. So who's believing in the flat earth here? Yeah, you're... batteries. It's really irritating. None of them are recharging. Anyway. Okay, I find it open to question. What does correct model even mean? What paradoxes are you referring to? Well, yeah. I'm simply referring to dogma. He claimed quite explicitly in a few places that the 1990 experiment had never been repeated, and there's no evidence for support for Einstein's curved space model. Yeah, there's no evidence. Okay, they didn't repeat the damn experiment with a modern technology, and that's the goddamn truth. They have the Hubble telescope. Where's the Hubble telescope images of the sun gravitationally lensing something? Again, we have 100 years more advanced technology, and you're saying they can't come up with the images. That's just patently false, and to verify my claim of its inaccuracy, I've done a thorough literature review and posted links to actual published papers showing how observed quantities are accurately predicted by Einstein's model up to incredible levels of precision. So again, you keep saying incredible levels of precision. Just deny the fact that the experiment was fundamentally flawed and then just say, yes, the results are fine. And even though they don't escape the margin of error. it's decisive evidence. The outcome doesn't escape the margin of error, yet it's decisive evidence. Fuck you. I'm not asserting the rightness of any model. Yes, you fucking goddamn are. You just asserted it, shithead. You say curved space is a model that has been proven beyond reasonable doubt. You're saying it overtly, you cunt. I think he'll do a better job to try to find actual issues, whatever, opposed to imagined ones, with the theory instead of simply claiming over and over again without evidence that the picture is inaccurate. Well, I'm sorry, the picture is inaccurate because the evidence is flawed, okay? The gravitational lensing evidence, the ones they're calling gravitational lensing, cannot be accounted for by any kind of real material science, real physics. They have to invent something called dark matter, which is entirely a contrivance. They just made the goddamn cartoon characters up, and they basically said they're pushing things together. I mean, it's that fucking bad. These are made-up leprechauns to fix broken math. And that's a fact. Where's his real actual evidence? Again, what do I need real actual evidence? My point is I have a real actual counter theory that explains it all and accounts for it all as real energy, not some kind of fake leprechaun. Nowhere. We in the working professional science, yeah, fuck you. If this is what if you're going to call yourself a professional, this is how you conduct yourself, fuck you. Understand that no model will ever be complete. Well, even that's a silly thing to say. No model will ever be complete. How do you know? I mean, really, isn't that a stupid thing to say? That's like saying, what, pure water will never be created. I think it might be, jackass. I think that's within the realm of possibility. Pure water? Yeah, maybe we can have that. But also understand that the real criticism requires real evidence to the contrary. Well, again, I don't have to have real evidence to the contrary to a fake, made-up cartoon character. How do you create real evidence to the contrary to leprechauns? Bench space is a fucking leprechaun. Newsflash, jackass. Alright, it's not something I can go out and test. I can't take a bite out of it. I can't step on it. I can't fucking swing my dick at it. I can't do a motherfucking thing to this silly goddamn cartoon character. He'd be much more successful getting his point across if he actually methodologically outlined. I did fucking goddamn outline the problems. God damn, you're fucking stupid. Video after video outlining the problems with the two-slit experiment and pointing out that we don't need fucking Copenhagen and all this other fucking multiverses and all this other shit because you have the same goddamn interference pattern happening with the one-slit experiment. And that all you have to do to figure out the two-slit experiment is to figure out that all you've done is taken the one-slit experiment and put an impediment in the middle. Outline problems in detail instead of just complaining and calling everyone who disagrees with his theory a stupid fuck. I'm not doing that, okay? You're the one that showed up first, asshole. Again, you fucking weasels with your fucking goddamn slanderous accusation that somehow I'm the rude motherfucker. No, you show up here and you be rude and I don't take your dick in my ass, jackass. I don't take your patronizing goddamn sycophant bullshit. You want to suck your religious cunt dick fucking physics, go ahead and do that, shithead. I have no goddamn obligation to believe in your fucking God, okay? And if you're going to sit there and tell me my God is God, my God is God, I'm going to tell you to go fuck off, okay, until you have a real fucking argument. And you don't have a real fucking argument. That's what you goddamn demonstrate. You claim it's the most proven theory in the history of mankind, and yet when I ask you for some kind of proof that's an obscure fucking minutia bullshit, you can't provide any, cunt. But don't say I started, shithead, because I never started. You fuckers started, you rude little prick. You arrogant, obnoxious cunt. You didn't come here polite. You didn't come here and make a reasoned argument. You came here with a bunch of goddamn patronizing tripe, you fucking shit. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's enough of those. So here's the one. Further experimental verification of predictions made by general relativity. Global fits of solar system orbital data to verify the relativistic phenomena. I believe I fixed the battery problems, hopefully. Anyway, well, part of the problem. Part of the problem is the battery. I don't know what it is with the camera and they all have brass, I mean, it's copper. It should make contact. It doesn't make contact. Anyway. Further experimental verification of predictions made by general relativity. Again, predictions in a loose sense of the word. And again, general relativity is just conceptually an idea, okay, that there's this connection between space and time, and really you could just say that there's a connection between acceleration and acceleration, and then acceleration and velocity, because that's really all you're talking about. So to say that time dilation is validation of general relativity, in my opinion, is stretching the truth. I mean, stretching the fact. There's no factual connection between the two. Again, the idea that there's a gravitational convergence that causes acceleration is a known fact. The fact that there is a breaking of clocks by accelerating clocks, okay, is another way to interpret the facts. That there is no dilation of anything called time. There's just a dilation of your capacity to measure time. Time passes exactly the same way, 1/zillionth of a millimeter outside your surface. The only thing slowing down is your metabolism and your clocks. But there is no time dilation. And that's validated or verified by all of this crap. So again, you're not proving how bent space is the cause of this, or how actual time is dilated by any of this. You're just establishing that there's a relationship between acceleration and velocity and this manifestation of time dilation. That can be explained alternative ways. You don't need to bend space or time to explain why you have those experimental results. So this proves nothing, and in fact does add evidence or credence to my theory. My theory predicts time dilation by your standard of prediction. Further experimental verification of general relativity. Isn't this the same fucking post, isn't it? No, it's different. Yeah, okay, some of the stuff I'll look into. This redshift thing seems reasonably, who knows, suborbital spacecraft. Well, this again, this is not proving anything I'm disputing. So to argue facts that are completely consistent with my theory is not really making an argument why my theory is incorrect. So you really have to do better than that, Justin. And just to be utterly thorough, here's recent 113-page review of general relativity. So another, and look, these experiments, you have to concede, are really, really, really obtuse. I mean, they're bent to the extremes of technology. You have to, if you're not willing to concede that, then yeah, forget it. But I mean, to make this argument, this is some sort of rock-solid proof that it's just undeniable proof of bent space, is way leaping. And that's what you're doing here. So these are his papers on mathematics, Journal of Algebra. So I'll have to go look at those and chortle, maybe. But anyway, I wish I could get some people to explain the mechanism by which redshift occurs. Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, they just, obviously this whole idea of expanding space, expanding the frequency of the light traveling through space is kind of preposterous, because it would have to expand in multiple places. I mean, light has a lot of frequencies in it, so to speak. Lots of periods, and each one of those periods would have to be stretched. So, yeah, I don't think so. Unless they think that, oh, I can just stretch one, and that stretches all the rest. So again, they have this infinite source of energy, and now they can, somehow bulge all of the frequencies. And that's sort of like bulging them, created this big space by just bulging one of them. I don't think so. Alright, Skid Row radio guy. He really does piss me. I mean, he does things where you just say, oh shit, he's an idiot. I mean, defends Russell Brand guy. I mean, that's just, what are you doing that for? But anyway, he did send me a book one time full of phantasmagorical loop-de-doo. So he's a little suspect. 4.5 minutes in, but this is the most concise, clear, and illustrated explanation of your position and questions. Brilliantly done. Well, if you're only 4 minutes in, that's a little bit dicey. So John Arg, I guess he's made of gold or something. Cell phone guy. Let's just call him. It's Cell Phone Man. Let's see what Cell Phone Man has to say. How do people like this guy even exist? It's like useless. Yeah, I'm gonna make an example of you too. malfunctioned. Yeah, look who's talking. Rambling robot whose existence is utterly devoid of purpose or meaning. I think it sort of has a lot of purpose, and if I've basically found the holy grail of physics, the unification theory, I guess that's sort of purposeful and meaningful, douchebag. What have you done, douchebag? Huh? Except talk on the cell phone, asswipe. Such arrogance. Yeah, oh yeah, it's not arrogant of you to presume you're number one, you're smarter, you know more about the subject, therefore you can define who's an idiot and who's not. I don't think you demonstrate any of that, cell phone man. Delusions and broken prose when typing this batshit ideas. And you've demonstrated the batshitness with what quote from the ideas? I mean, if there's so many batshit ideas, why don't you just quote one of the batshit ideas? Fuck for brain. You fucking ignorant turd. His true contribution to science would be to die quickly. Oh yeah, that's really brilliant. Why don't you die slowly and miserably, you stupid, lousy piece of shit? Maybe your whole fucking... Yeah, well, anyway. And let's the real scientist examine his brain. Yeah, the real scientist. Like, you know what a real scientist is, right? Creation scientist, no doubt. Obviously. Fuck you. Alright, I will deal with this video today. Oh, Skyzer dealt with something? Yeah, I don't think so, Skyzer. Let's see, he posted this a day ago. Let's see if there's anything on his little Skyzer riser. Oh, I don't see anything here, Skyzer. Where's uploads? How come the uploads is gone here? Huh? I don't really get it. This must be a Google Plus thing or something. I mean, you have to hit this. Why isn't the regular menu here? Retarded channel is what it is. So let's see. 4 months ago, 1 month ago. Well, I guess you didn't deal with it, douchebag. I guess you didn't. Oh, this is his real life. My leg. Yeah, you're retarded. Oh, jeez. Obviously, he has a retarded leg. Yeah, I don't know what you did to do that, but man, that was really dumb, retard. Grow a brain. Stop doing stupid shit, idiot. Yeah. Anyway, it really is. It's a nice piece of meat. Yummy, yummy. Alright, enough of that shithead. This guy's a fucking idiot. Anyway, Sally Lopper. I'm sure she's lives up to her name. This one, you've better videos. This one of your videos. She's a little drunk. Videos. There's a lot of food for thought. Is light's declaration due to interactions? Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, I don't know what that means. Are the bubbles of tiny that are caught in neutral by eternal bounce? Nope, this is weak. The rotation that turns into roll, now that could be an eternal neutral if you don't add the extra arrow. If it's rotating, it can remain to be matter. I don't know. My criticism of this video, you forgot to bash Kakaku. I don't think I did. I think I have done video after video, so regardless, fuck you. So here's some more broken English crap. It's not the same diffraction pattern. Two diffraction patterns are interfering with one photon going through two slits. Yeah, well, again, Jesus fucking Christ, I wonder when you'll click in your brain. No, I wonder when you'll click in your brain. Alright, the pattern is called a diffraction or an interference pattern. Diffraction is a concept, yes, but I'm just saying it's called an interference pattern. The interference pattern exists with a single slit. At the proper width, it looks identical to the double slit, except it doesn't have that little bubbly thing of the one slit at a smaller distance superimposed on it. And so all the double slit experiment is really doing is taking the single slit experiment, reducing the central maxima is intensity, that's what the impediment's doing, and superimposing on it the single slit diffraction of the narrow slit. So there's lots of ways you can describe how those two superpositions can happen, but the real point is that obviously the single slit experiment creates the identical interference pattern. The bars, dopey, are in the same fucking place, idiot. You can't understand that? If you make the single slit as wide as both of the double slits, you'll get exactly the same number of bars, retard. Same pattern, retard. Alright. No need for two slits for the little photon to go through, retard. Mass energy equivalence arose originally from special relativity as a paradox described by Einstein. Was the first to propose that the equivalence of mass and energy as a general principle. Look, you can say whatever you want. I'm saying the reason why Einstein had already stated it in a sense by recognizing the energy potential in photons and the fact that photons went into certain substances and obviously gave them more mass. And that's where he got the idea, I think, quite clearly, that mass is energy. That photons, when trapped inside matter, all of a sudden now have mass, asshole. He saw photons hit something, it get heavier, it creates electrical potential. All of that he saw and knew, jackass, and that's where he got the equivalency from, jerk. Perpetua per napa purple. I don't know what that means. Fuck you. Don't write gibberish on my goddamn fucking page, please. Alright. And at 2630, my fundamental objection to double slit experiment is that it's not describing the single slit experiment. Is this a substantial objection? I don't believe it. I mean, you really can't understand how all this conversation about what slit the photon went through, all the Copenhagen, the many worlds, all the interpretations of what's happening because there's a diffraction, I mean an interference pattern on the other wall, and the same interference pattern, with the exception of the central maxima being twice as large, is observed with the single slit at the proper width. So I'm just saying you can't see how that's kind of substantial, that they're arguing that there's some mystery about what slit the photon went through when there's no mystery about going through different slits with a single slit experiment. Is there, asshole? And then if you're going to use their stupid Huygens bullshit, then you'd have to double Huygens it. With the double slit experiment, you'd end up with 4 waves interfering with each other. Then how are you going to fix that? Because they wouldn't be in sync because they're from 2 different locations. So then you should have a completely different pattern with twice as many bars in it. No, it's not. It's just heuristic complaint. Well, again, says you ass wipe. Okay? I mean, it's pretty clear. It's a huge difference than what they describe. Go watch the Dr. Quantum videos on the double slit experiment and tell me that that's honest, knowing that the fact that I've demonstrated in my videos of single slit diffraction, and tell me it's not a substantial deception. You're just defending liars now. I mean, they're overtly lying about the physics, and now you're defending overt lies where they don't pay any attention to the fact that they have exactly the same pattern with the single slit experiment, with the exception of the double maxima being twice as large. Many of his objections are in this form. Again, an accusation you'll back up with nothing. And a few seconds later, the central fringe in the single slit experiment. The central fringe in the single slit experiment? It's not a fringe, you idiot. It's called the central maxima, retard. Is twice as big. It's 3 units. Yeah, well, that was my observation, okay? So when I did actual measurements, alright, what I found is when they say it's twice as large, they mean it's taking up as much space as 2 bright fringes. 2 bright fringes with a dark fringe in between them. So they're calculating it as the width of 2 bright fringes, but the width of 2 bright fringes contains a dark fringe in between them. So it's really 3 units. You can understand that, maybe? So they're not even getting that part correct. Fuck face. It's twice as big as 3. The distance between the 2 nearest to the center dark bands is 2. whatever this is, slash width, where I equals the frequency of incident light and W equals slit width. Again, you can say that's the way it is, but guess what? If you do the measurement, it's not the way it is. So again, and if you say the slit width, you're again back to my argument, is you have to do the actual measurement of the you have to actually perform the measurement on the thing, because there's not variables to take it into account the fact that two bright fringes has a dark fringe in between them. So if you don't take that into account, it's just like in the double slit experiment where they don't explain that the width of the double slit experiment is two frequencies, two wavelengths wide, the total width, and that when they do the single slit experiment, they're only using one frequency width, one bandwidth. And if they use the full wide single slit, then they don't get this little loop-de-doo pattern. They get a very real, substantial bar pattern. But with distance between any other pair of contiguous dark bands is simply I divided by W. Again, you can say it. I'm saying that's incorrect because you're not accounting for the fact that the width of the slits, two bright bands, has a dark band in the middle. The central fringe is twice as wide as the other fringes. Again, you can say it. I'm saying it's 3 times as wide. And again, you say why as the other fringes. Again, you're saying the other fringes have that width is let me see what's the right way to say it is that they've taken into account when they do that math, that the math is somehow taking into account the fact that the fringes are all the same size, the dark ones and the light ones, and that the two brights always have a dark one in between them. So you always have to count the dark one in between. What are you talking about? Well, I've just explained what I'm talking about. So we'll leave it at that. It's not an important issue one way or the other. I'm just saying that I think that's an error they have made. It's really 3 fringes wide. In a single slit experiment, it's 3 fringes wide. 3, that's why there's a phase difference in the 2 experiments. The 2 experiments have a phase difference because it's not twice as big, it's 3 units big, which creates the phase difference, meaning the dark fringe is in the middle in the single slit experiment. And guess what? You don't see it because the single slit experiment, there's no impediment in the middle, so the middle light goes through the little tiny slit way far away and shoots in a straight line right to the middle. So it wipes out what would have been a dark fringe in the middle. Retard. Okay, so I've done my job. I'm going to get on to bigger and better things now. So yeah, my plan is I'm going to read through the document. I still have to write the conclusion. I think I'm satisfied with most of it as an argument in terms of the overall pointing out that this provides all the things that bent space and time warping and all this other crap doesn't provide. It provides a hard, real explanation. It explains where the energy comes from, and again, it unifies gravity and magnetism. Clearly it will also unify electricity. The fact that it explains how gravity is induced right in here applies so directly to how magnetism induces electricity. I mean, they're both inductive. They both don't happen instantaneously. They create a flux, a field, and the field strength gets up to its maxima. Very similar. And this is the truth of your reality, fuckers. And you don't want to listen? Fine. You don't want to try to argue with some kind of rational argument about why this can't be, this nice, simple explanation. I've reduced it to what Feynman thought it might be, a checkerboard, essentially, giving you as few possible moves as possible. It's as limited in the number of moves as checkers is in so many ways. It's just that simple. And it's just the density of it that fools us. Clearly, spin, the creation of orbits, is huge. in terms of making this, giving this all kinds of nuance, because we know the spins can be tiny or they can be huge. I mean, look, even things like galaxies, right? Galaxies, why they have spiral arms, and the spiral arms bend, okay, and they're also moving too fast, they say, like the pieces inside the spiral arms are moving too fast on the outside. Perfectly explained by my theory of gravity, in the sense that the gravity takes time to get across the galaxy. So as it's being induced, okay, it's induced when an object is in this position. It takes time for the shadow to reach the thing it's shadowing, and then it takes time for the reverse shadow to be cast back again. And so by the time the whole process takes place, this thing has moved over here, okay, and the strong gravity ends up falling in a location where the thing isn't even exist anymore. But there's other things that can sit in that gravity, and that's what's happening, is that the outer arms of the galaxy are really a reflection of the gravity's delay. And that's why there's a lag behind, is because there's stronger gravity. So they don't spiral out, they spiral bending in behind the arm. So the behind the arm has more gravity, actually, and that's why that stuff's moving faster. And that's why it's not a straight line, is because there's more gravity behind the thing that induces the gravity than there is in front of the thing that produces the gravity. So that's why there's an empty space in front, and that's why there's extra stuff behind, is because there's more gravity lagging behind the thing orbiting than there is gravity in front of it. And so if I explain galaxies also, their shape, spiral galaxies, I mean, how many things does this theory have to cover before you'll start to concede, oh, this might explain an awful lot of fucking phenomena in the universe? How many? Asshole. And you haven't found one thing yet that it can't explain. And that's what you need to find. Find the thing it can't explain. Alright. So, enough. So, till the next time and such. Like I said, I'll just do an overview, and I think this will need this part here, the technicalities part. There is such nuance into the whole creation of gravity and velocity, even. You know, understanding it as probabilistic math in terms of what is going to happen in the end effect of all these little bits that get changed. But understanding that little bits changing themselves is, you know, you could, like I said, you could write volumes on that alone. Because I think there is so much nuance to the shape of these different swirls of stuff. The swirl of the neutron, the swirl of the proton, the swirl of the electron. They're all just swirls, they're all just hurricanes of different size. And because they're different sizes, they spin at different speeds. And they create a gear work in kind of a real literal sense that ties things together. Anyway, it's got it all, and you people are going to be eating a lot of crow. I'll be serving it up everywhere. Anyway, till next time.